You look at that result and you're like, your initial response is, okay, Spurs got beaten by Burnley after beating Manchester City. This is the most inevitable result ever. Of course, we all saw this coming. We all weren't getting carried away with Saturday, but we were. We were saying that this was one of the best games in the Premier League season, that Harry Kane's individual performance was one of the best in the Premier League in recent years. And we've got a manager here, and it wasn't an overreaction, to believe in Antonio Conte, to look at his track record and say, this guy is good at being a football manager. So it isn't the most inevitable result in the world last night, losing to a team in the bottom three. They should absolutely, if they were worth their salt, followed up on the result on Saturday night and got all 3 points away to Burnley last night. I mean, this was not inevitable, Kenny, was it?
No, but I think
though.
You think about a logical. I mean, Liverpool went there not too long ago. We know the level Liverpool are playing at the moment. They kind of eked one out, didn't they? 1-0 clean sheet and just did enough. United had their problems there recently. I can only guess what the weather was like. Haven't seen the game at Burnley last night in terms of that being challenging for Spurs going there as well. And you know, they're on a decent run at the moment. Deutsch are on the up. Bit of feel-good momentum behind them, so I think it's too easy to say, it's who could have saw this Burnley turn off the back of the Manchester City. I think it was always likely, but it is a blow, and I think it's very interesting listening to Conte. I was just listening to hear his comments after the game last night.
We actually have some. We can play this.
Roll it in.
Here he is. Yeah, exactly. Here's what Antonio Conte. Some of what he had to say. We'll play you more of this later because it is fairly interesting.
I'm not. Maybe I'm not so good. Yes, I'm not so good, and I think Tottenham called me to improve the situation. But I'm too honest. I'm too honest to close my eyes. You understand, and to continue to tell, okay, but I want to finish my season in this way, and okay, but my salary is good. No, but I'm not this type of person. I have ambition. I'm a person that I have ambition. I hate to lose. And we lost, I repeat, 4 games in the last 5 games. And I want to accept this. And I want to try to move the situation, also to make assessment with the club.
There seems to be some suggestion in the English press this morning that Antonio Conte is deciding whether or not he will stay in the job. This is remarkable. It is really remarkable because anybody else who loses 4 games in 5, they're like, we're going to sack this guy. With Antonio Conte, it's like, maybe I'll sack the club. It's like, I'm getting paid a lot of money, but I'm too honest.
I think there is a degree of honesty to that, though. We saw a little bit of Inter Milan in the summer in terms of wanting to build on what he achieved there last season, and obviously didn't get the kind of indication from the board there that they were going to reinvest and they're going to back him to an extent. And he was like, well, that's I can't exist in that environment. I'm off. You know what I mean? It has to be not kind of my way, but this, these are not even so much these are my demands. This is what I expect. You know, if I'm going to bring everybody with, we've all got to be together type thing. And if anything less, what's the point? Kind of life's too short. So I can understand that a little bit. But he was very vocal a couple of days ago off the back of the Manchester City. He was really holding up the dressing room, wasn't he? He was saying, look, I've been in a lot of dressing rooms, but these lads are amongst attitude, characters. This is what I want. I almost forgive anything in terms of lack of individuality here and there because this group is pretty special. So I mean that kind of blew me away a little bit. I thought, wow, because under Nuno early in the season, I think he probably could have questioned the character of a couple of those players inside the dressing room in terms of how much they were actually pulling for the previous match. But yeah, he's extolling their virtues in terms of the kind of the character within the confines of the dressing room. I thought, well, that's that. If you're a Spurs supporter, listen to that, you're thinking, wow, this definitely got something to build on here. At least the dressing rooms together. You could argue maybe we haven't got enough quality in certain areas of the pitch, but the fundamentals are in place, Jared. That's what he seemed to be saying. But this is, I'm not quite sure what he's saying here. If it's simply, is this, could you spin this in terms of, look, the group, the attitude's good, but just the quality isn't there. I need money. You need to go and get me 4 or 5 top class players. Is it as simple as that? It doesn't quite seem to be as simple as that. Is that as roundabout way of saying it? I can only do so much. I'm a good coach, but even I can only do so much in terms of with the relative quality in the squad. The attitude's great, some great personalities, but fundamentally, if the quality's not there, I can only... It's difficult to read into what he's saying.
It is difficult. It is difficult, and there's obviously a slight language barrier. What were you going to say?
Well, it seems like that's the sort of stuff he could be saying and possibly should be saying. Like, this is very, very dramatic from Conte. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be dramatic. Maybe the situation is, maybe he's appalled by what he's seen at the club since he's come in there. Maybe he's got every right to be dramatic. But what we're getting as a public is like this angsty teenager who is overreacting to every single little bit that's gone wrong in the dressing room. And granted, as I say, a result against Burnley is not a good result. It is a bad result. They've lost to Southampton, they've lost to Wolves, they've lost to Burnley in their last 4 Premier League fixtures. So things haven't gone well. But when Conte comes out to face the media after things not going well, things get worse. Things get more dramatic. Things get more intense. So there's no way this thing lasts beyond, I don't know how long, beyond the end of the season, well into next season at this stage, because every little setback that's been had, Conte has taken it very, very badly. And of course that comes from a place of him being a serial winner, right? But
and also there's a built-in melodrama with Antonio Conte that is his kind of natural expressive way, which is different from previous managers in England who are like,
I don't think it's put on, lads, is it? I don't think it's
so.
kind of forced. It's not for the camera.
This is who he is.
Yeah, exactly. It's just coming out. And we've seen it previously, particularly at Chelsea, in terms of how badly it went there, and obviously last year in Inter Milan. So in some respects, I have a little bit of respect for that. You could argue he's doing the right thing in terms of how he's projecting himself there, the effect that's going to have on the dressing room, that going to unsettle the dressing room. And I think that's a fair point, because you always have to be conscious, I think, of the players in the dressing room as a manager when you speak post match. Any kind of media responsibilities, the players are watching out, listening.
Yeah,
so you have to factor that in. But when it's honesty, when it's pure honesty and it's coming from the heart, I've got a little bit of respect for it. So I think that's what I'm saying. I just don't know where it's going to end up.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. That's the question. That is the $64 million question. Is he the manager at the end of the transfer window? The next transfer window, is he still the manager of Spurs?
Well, I think, if Daniel Levy, you're watching, he doesn't, not too many facial expressions, and that you see Daniel Levy at the games, but generally there must have been at least raised eyebrows listening to that post match. So I would think at some stage very quickly he's got to sit down with Antonio Conte. He hasn't done already, Levy, and say, look, I understand your frustration. We all share it. We know where you want to be. We want to be there as well in terms of Spurs competing Champions League and maybe looking beyond that to push to close the gap with the top 3. We're all behind you. We all want the same thing. So what do you need? Is it a financial? How much do you need to spend? What players do you need? I'll back you as much as I can. I think fundamentally it's going to come down to that. When you break it all down, really, I think he's looking at that squad and thinking, this squad can compete at the top end. Am I prepared to commit myself here for the next 2 to 3 years with limited investment into the squad, and really full of the knowledge that I can't bridge that gap at the top 3, and really I'm competing for that 4th Champions League spot at best.
Yeah, now it's like in world football, it's not a bad job. He's going to get paid very well. There is a possibility that they will invest in the summer, that they have a proper resource in the stadium, that the deck kind of, as the stadium starts to fill, there's loads of concerts there in the summer, they start to begin to have money again. This might not be the precise moment you want the job, but like after last week when they beat City, you're like, oh, he's going to be able to do something here. And at the moment, I just am stunned by what he's saying, and maybe there is a gap in when he's saying I need to make an assessment. Does he mean he needs to get deeper into the club and check how the youth system is working and the throughput of players, or is he like, I need to make an assessment whether or not I'm going to stick around?
Yeah,
it sounds more like stick around.
I don't think he should look too deep into that in terms of I need to make an assessment in terms of the whole structures at the football club. I think that's more of an assessment of I need to speak to the owner here. I need to find out what funds are available in the next 2 windows for me to reinvest in this squad. I think he knows. I think there's a level of self-confidence with him. I think he knows the qualities which he has. He's a very good coach, lads. He can set up a team, particularly not just the defensive setup. I think that's too easy to say, oh, his defensive mentality just sets his team up well defensively. I think he kind of blew that out of the water a little bit into the last 2 years. If anybody watched that Inter Milan team play the last 2 years, played some wonderful attacking football, actually counter-attacking football. He managed to accommodate some of the best footballers in Italy in that team, Brozovic and Barella, Ericsson. Ericsson went there and I was scratching my head. How's he going to get into? How's Conte going to find a place for him in his team? But he did. So for me, even then, the last 2 years, I looked at Conte and thought, you know what, he's getting better as a manager. This kind of defensive mentality, which was kind of a label kind of put on him for quite some time, it actually doesn't stand up. He's actually becoming better. So I think for me, I'm a huge fan. He's an absolute top class manager. I think he has an effect. He has had an effect going in there in terms of the structures that he's put in place to kind of tactical setup of the team. I think they're better, and I think the players have drawn a bit of confidence from him.
Yeah.
In terms of his kind of confidence and his pedigree, and that's a bit of a slight on the players, to be honest with you, because I think a couple of them kind of switched off.
Yeah, I think so.
Nuno. And I'm a huge Nuno fan, but I think a few of the players looked at him and thought, I'm not really having him.
No, and they didn't feel like he was there for the long haul. And also, Harry Kane was having his strop.
Yeah,
he was mid-strop, so. It's not going to be a straight line.
Now Antonio's mid-strop.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and maybe there's a bit of madness there where it's like, I'm going to be the one who has this massive reaction afterwards, and I question myself in the hope that gets the response from the players, because after that, what else has he got? He's come in, he's ruling with the iron fist is generally how we hear about this, and he got rid of some players very quickly, although he complained about the amount of players that left as well, which was kind of ironic. It was like, I'm getting rid of these players because I really don't want them, and there's a few others I wanted to get rid of as well. But then he goes to the papers, he goes to Sky Italia and complains about it. It's all a bit weird. We'll come back to this a little bit later on, because I know John Duggan has thoughts on it.